Hey guys, I want to show you a project that came into the shop the other day. It's very challenging, and as I sit here, I'm not sure how I'm going to do this, but this is how it came to me. It's a needlepoint that's completely off. It's already been repaired once, which is kind of like, should have thrown some red flags up at me, so it's brought to me to try to fix or try to restore grandmother's needlepoint. Let me show you. I'm just going to bring it up like this to show you. It's already been repaired once. It's already caved in once, and they hand sewed the needlepoint. You can't fold it and sew it like you normally would with two pieces of fabric, but they actually hand stitched. They did a pretty good job of hand stitching it to the needlepoint. Unfortunately, the seat caved in because they used the wrong webbing. It took a little while for this to happen, but it ruined the beautiful job that they did on the front. So this is an example of not using the exact materials that you need. Like they used the black webbing, which is a back webbing, not a seat webbing. So that's why it gave out. So now I'm tasked. My task is to see if I can repair this in a similar way. I'm going to try to do the hand stitching. I'm going to see if it takes a needle first to see if I can do it the exact same way. And if not, I'm going to have to think about an epoxy or a hot glue and go through that process. But so these are some of the things that come into your shop. If you guys are doing you're starting a trade or in a trade, you're going to be faced with some of these challenges. So let's go to the table and see what we can do with this. Okay guys, so I'm looking at this needlepoint and I'm examining it. I'm trying to straighten it out a little bit. The very first thing I want to do is mark the front because it came off the chair. I don't want to lose myself that way. So I'll just take a pin and I'll just put a pin in here. That's indicating the front. Okay, that's kind of important when I go to put this back on. Okay, that's my first thing. So my goal here is to try to get a piece of fabric like they did underneath this, because the chair itself is out to here. I don't have enough needlepoint, in other words. So this is what they did the last time. They gave themselves a little bore. I didn't really particularly, they did an okay job hand stitching, but it wasn't really that square. So I'm going to try to square it up a little bit better than they did on the chair after it's done, hopefully. I still don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. So the first thing I'm going to do is check to see, I kind of I have the patience to hand stitch this on if it's going to work. They actually had the benefit, I would say it was probably a 50-year-old repair, and the needlepoint is much older than that. It goes with the chair, and the chair is probably 150 years old. So I guess in all fairness to the craftspeople in the past, it's lasted 150 years. That's not bad. So what I'm doing is I'm just stretching it. I suspect that it's going to be too dry to do the stitching, but I'm going to try to take a needle out here. I'm really close here, so I'm going to try to come to the edge here. I'm just going to try to get a needle in here. Yeah, I don't like that. So this needlepoint is way too dry for me to hand stitch like they did. So, you're going to go through this process of problem solving. You already told the customer you could do it. So my next thing is that I'm going to do is an epoxy onto the piece that I have already cut out. I'll show you that in a minute. But before how did I choose my epoxy or glue? I'm choosing the glue gun. I'll tell you why. Because I get an instant bond, but more importantly, because it comes out in liquid, I feel as though it's going to bond better because I can press it down, and I think it can go in the pores. The hot glue can go in the pores a little bit and give me a better seal. So I'm selecting that. We'll see how it goes, right? So, but the very first thing I need to do is I need to square this up a little bit better. So when you cut this, okay, if you cut this straight, you're going to end up with, you're going to be able to see the back. People at home probably go, oh my goodness, he's going to cut a needlepoint. Never cut a needlepoint. Usually you don't, but in this case we have to. But what I'm going to try to do is a very sharp pair of scissors. Is put an angle on this cut so that I don't see the edge. Okay, so I only want to see the good side, right? So what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to come to this edge first and show you what I mean by that. Look at the angle that I put on this. I'm trying to put an angle just like this all the way down. Try to get that as straight as I can. I'm going to bring it to me a little bit. I'm trying to do this for the sake of the camera too, but I think I need to draw this in a little bit more, you see, because we have some wear right out to here. So I have to mirror that on this side because I want it square. I think it's important that it's squared. So I'm going to take it down just a little bit more. trying to angle this. I mean, this is super dry, you guys, super dry, so I have to be really careful with this. I just want to get this on that platform that I have that fabric. That's not bad. That's not too bad. Okay, and then I have another damage here that I want to show you about. Okay, I'm going to repair this damage with a little glue, Elmer's glue, not hot glue. And I'm going to save all my extra needlepoint, and I'm going to put it over here in colors, right? So the purple, I already have a purple pegged out for this over here. I have a piece that's a little bit elongated here, which I'm going to cut off. But so far, I'm happy with that side. So let's do the front. Now I'm going to really have to angle that like that. And I have to bring this in just a little bit more here. Okay, this is what I'm looking for right here. This piece here I'm going to save all this. Not too bad. All right. My pin, I want my pin to stay there. I'm being really super careful here, you guys. So now I'm angling my scissors this way. People at home are going, oh, if you've done needlepoint, you know how many hours it takes to do something like this. I like that. So far I'm happy. Let's see. Now let's take the back off. This is so dry. So dry, so dry. It's crazy. Put that over there. Okay, and I have a little piece left over here. Just a little bit longer there. I'm just going to cut that off, save that piece. Like I said, I'm going to repair that later. I have my front marked with the pin. All right, I'm ready to put this on my base. Let's take my base. Let me show you what I did on my base. The customer picked this fabric out and picked this trim out, which I'll show you. That's going to go on the chair eventually. Now, so I have an out in case my gluing isn't successful or is not as good as I want it to be. I can run a double one of these gimps around that just to seal it off even more. But I have to be completely satisfied with the single sail that I'm going to do, and you'll see that in a minute. Okay, so if you've seen my other videos, I'm pretty compulsive about making sure everything is marked. This is a velvet, so it has a nap, so the nap should be running forward. So I have an F there indicating front, and I have my pin over here, so there's no question. So I'm gonna place this on. And what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna measure the needle point just to see how accurate I am. And you see how I'm also doing this like this. I cannot block this. Normally I would block this. Blocking is a process where you wet it and then take pins. You can't do that on this because there's no salvage. Okay, so I have to do that myself. That's why I'm going to put a couple of pins in here. Now, the first thing I want to do is measure this to make sure that I'm in the middle, okay? So let's get a center point, 17, 8.5. That's good there. 17, 8.5. We're just going to pull it just a little bit more right there. And then we'll see how much we got here. 8.5, just up a little bit. Just like that. Okay, beautiful. Okay. Now I'm going to just take a couple of pins. Let me just pin that there. Go through that. Don't need too many. Just want to get this out. Maybe 4 in each corner. Away from the corner. You want to be in a couple of inches. Okay. Now I'm going to start in the back with my gluing. It's better to have a mistake happen in the back, right, guys, than in the front. So I'm really the only thing you really need is a regulator when you're doing this, and your hot glue gun. Just grab that. Let's see if this is going to work. I'll start in the corner, I guess. Okay, what you want to do is you don't want to be right out at the edge because I don't want any glue to be seen. So I'm going to be in just a little bit. Let's just see how this first one is going to go. And you could take your regulator and tuck in, any yarns that are coming through. So far, so good. So I'm I'd say about 1/4 of an inch in with the bead. So what I'm hoping is, and so far I'm rather happy with this, the glue is doing what I want it to do, which is when I'm pushing down like this, it's not coming this way because I'm in a little bit. Hopefully it's coming out to the edge. But more importantly, what it's doing is it's going through the pores, it's coming up a little bit, and it's not seeping through this side. So if you were using a regular epoxy, I'm afraid that you would only get the bottom part, and I would be worried that that wouldn't be enough. So that's why I chose the hot glue. Oh yeah, look at that, you guys. That's pretty good. Little piece of yarn sticking out there. I'll take my regular and just kind of tuck it in. And I'm going to come to the corner. So far, nothing's peeking through, but that's why you have your regulator ready to tuck in if you need to. Right now I'm just tucking in threads. Again, this action here, using my palm, is to let that glue come up in between the pores. Like I said, I think my first instinct would be to hand stitch it, but like the other people did. But unfortunately, it's just way too dry. This would be my second choice, but my first choice would be, considering, would be the hot glue gun, with all the factors that we talked about. So it's interesting. It can be interesting what materials that you use. You take the pins out as you go. I'm not going to do anything on the interior because I'm going to take care of that with my padding that I put on the chair. Pretty good. Keep my pin there for the front, although I have my F here written, so I could take that pin out actually. You don't want to forget the pins that you put in, right, guys? I'm really happy with the way this is holding. So I wasn't quite sure, I'll take that pin out. It's done its job. Get my corner done. Tuck that in there. Take this pin out. Just got a little bit more glue right down the back here at the corner. Okay, now I'm going to show you how to repair this piece here. I actually think I can repair it with what's in there, which would be good. But I'm not going to use the hot glue gun to do that. I'm going to show you. I'm going to dab a little bit of Elmer's glue in there. And just try to get it ready first. Don't like this piece sticking out, so let's just cut that off. Oops. I'm going to tuck it in. Either one. Okay, there we go. Okay, let's just take a little dab of Elmer's glue in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to lift it just up a little bit where the damaged part was, and I want to get just a dab of Elmer's glue on the end of my regulator. I want to make sure that I'm on the end. Just kind of move it, and then look at that, you guys, huh? Not bad. And that Elmer's glue will stay once it dries. That's in there for pretty good, right? And I'm just going to go around now the outside edges just to see if I've got, I don't want to see any of that back of the needlepoint. So I'm just going to go around the edges, go like that. So you see that piece that's a little stubborn, so I'm going to go over here and take my little collection that I have. Take a little dab, just a little strand or two, right? I'm going to dab that with a little glue. Don't need much. And then I'm going to dab that. Now it disappears. See that, guys? Not bad, huh? Let's go around the whole thing now. And I've got a collection, I think, of all the scraps that I need just in case. So here's a piece here I think I can just kind of tuck in. And we got another piece here that looks like it could use a little dab of purple. You don't want too much glue. Just dab that in there, and then that wouldn't even know, and that will stay, you know. So I need a little blue here. So you have to shave the blue off a little bit. And that's what it is. It's like you're shaving it off. You know, you don't need much. You don't need a big strand of it. You just need shavings. See this little piece here? Needs a little glue. Just get a little glue in there. There we go. This piece here looks like it just needs to be trimmed. I'm just going to tuck that in. This here. I think we're good. So let me just get the front lined up here. Now I'm going to have a big test now. We're going to pause for a minute. Okay, so we're going to do, like, with the compressor has 80 pounds of pressure, so this is going to blow out any excess dust that we have and also see how strong our bond is. there you have it. So here you go guys. This is the best possible outcome that I can imagine. So I'm going to go ahead and put this on. I have to rebuild the seat. I'm going to use that red webbing, and I'm going to really make sure that this is tight before this goes on. And then I'm going to make sure it goes on even. I'm going to have a nice border, and I'm not going to have any seams, which is really important. I'm not going to have any miter seams at all. That's why it's another reason why I wanted to do it this way. And then I'm going to decide from there if I need to put in. I'm going to have one row of the gimp, or the trim, as they call it, on the wood portion of the piece. Look how nice a match that is, you guys. I like that. And then I'd rather not have a second run like that, but I may, if I feel as though it needs it, if for wear factor, it might last longer, but we'll see. So that's it. I'm glad you tuned in. We'll see you next time.